Merry Christmas. It's December 17th, 2022, and I'm making this video for my daughter to show you how I make dressing and how I make bread pudding. I need some onions diced up, so I'm going to cut some onions first. Before we make our dressing, we got to have diced onions, because when you get started, you want to have everything ready. So I got to do that, and then I got to, Presley, as you know, I'm going to break the crackers up because I need the crackers broken up for it. And this is where that mixed spice comes in, Pres, that I asked you to get for me so much because I couldn't find it here in Halifax. I had a real hard time finding it, and you got it for me, which I appreciate. I hope you guys are having a nice Christmas holidays. There we go. And just one more. I'm doing the video, but afterwards we're going to add in a little music because I have to keep it quiet, or otherwise I'd be listening to music right now. Or a book on CD, book on tape. Listen to audio a lot. And if Pres was home, if you were home, sweetie, you would be doing this for me because you always help me prep. I should have a set of those goggles so that my eyes don't get all blue, stingy. You know, they look like swimming goggles. I think they might be a bit much. So, I'm going to do that. And I move that. All right. Should probably have my glove so I don't cut my fingers or anything. I know, Presley, what you're thinking right now. You're thinking, Mom, didn't I buy you a glove to use? But I forgot it. I'll just be careful. Hey? Dicing that. Doesn't have to be finely diced. I need that one. Alright. And I'm gonna just make sure I put that in here. Put this aside for when we start. And I'll get the amount of the spices and stuff out. What we're gonna do. Okay, now we're going to do the spices, Pres, that I use when I make dressing. But I always do it out of my head and I don't actually measure it. I kind of use it, taste it, and say if I need more of that. But in order to get the recipe, I'm going to put out some first of all, because I use a few different things. I use mixed spice, I use cloves, ground cloves, and I use pepper, of course, and I use savory, and I use allspice, which is a little different for some people, but so today, just for measurement's sake, we're going to measure this. I need my glasses to see what the bottles say and how the measuring things. More so the measuring. That's a half a teaspoon and that's a teaspoon. We're definitely using at least a teaspoon of each. Now I'm going to do some prep work where I'm going to actually get the spices out. I'm going to put a teaspoon in each one so we can get started with that. Okay? And I'll be right back. Okay, so I sauteed the onions. I sauteed the onions first. I add a little salt and pepper. Just a little bit. Salt and pepper. And then just because butter adds flavor to it. So I'll put that in. And we'll get this heated up and sauteed. Ready. Okay, so I'm going to add a little bit more of each item. I'm going to add a little bit more of the cloves. Matter of fact, you know what, Press? I'm going to put the crackers in first. And then we can just add it all on top of that. So turn that down a little bit because all you're really doing is heating it up now and add a bit more spices. So I always look at it, how much potato do I have, how much do I want to use? Well, I'm going to use about 2/3 of the package. A little bit more, 2/3. Okay. Now I'm going to use my allspice. All of my summer savory, I'll probably end up using just 2 tablespoons here, or 2 teaspoons here. Use a little bit for now. And my spice. And okay, perfect. You'll smell it, or I do anyway. That's how I kind of make it. As I start to smell what it smells like, and then I go from there. And I'm just going to fold that in. And I can see that I can use the rest of my crackers because I want still a little there. So we're going to use the whole package of crackers with that amount. And it starts to get thicker there. This is definitely the density, Presley, that you see when I make it. Because it's now, see how it's starting to pack together? That's why you always have to have a little bit of water on the side. Just so that you can. Okay. Add a little bit of water. Mix this up a little bit more. Water. Water really just boils off or cooks off anyway. Be surprised at how quickly it goes. This was Mom's recipe, and it's also what Grammy does. This is Grammy's recipe. So it's okay, so I gotta taste it. That's how I decide what I gotta add into it. It's tasting pretty good, but I think I could use a little bit more of my summer savory. Summer savory looks good in it too, because you see those little green spices on the ground. Okay, and I'm gonna definitely use a bit more of my air. And a little bit more of this. I'm going to take and add just a teeny bit more water. Clean it off of the spatula. And pack it all together, and I can put it back in that bowl, and it's ready to go. And I try to put this aside, do it early, press all my vegetables and stuff while the turkey's cooking so that they're just ready to heat up. Because I heat everything up. Or I put it in the oven at a very low temperature and keep it warm, knowing that the turkey's going to be ready soon. Yeah, turn that off. That's what it looks like. Okay, got that? Okay, we're going to make bread pudding now, and I have to cut up the bread into like 1-inch cubes. I don't really like using the top of the bread, so we're going to cut that part off. I'm going to cut it up into small cubes, and I'm going to put it in the oven and toast it for just a few minutes, press. It's not as much as croutons, but it's still kind of crispy because you're supposed to use sort of old bread. Okay. So what I don't like this crust, that thin crust, it just doesn't make for good bread pudding. The bottom does, but not the top. So ideally, this is what I do before I start to cut it up into cubes. And often, you can use day-old bread, a couple of days old bread. I mean, when we were growing up, Mom would always take old bread and cut it up and put it in the freezer because that was going to be used for bread pudding. So she used just regular homemade bread, but this stuff is gonna go. I'm gonna just put it in here out of the way for now. I'm gonna use that later. So let's try this again. So I'm gonna cut that all off. Cut that piece and cut this off. And this off. Oh, that's just my oven because I had to turn the temperature up to 450 to toast the bread a little bit, Press. And then watch me. Oops, just breaking this up.
Not this one.
I'm going to put it in the oven and toast it just to kind of dry it out. You're supposed to use stale bread, so this is a way to make it a little bit stale. So let's stick that in there for a few minutes and let that get toasted. And in the meantime, I will get, it's going to take 1 cup of sugar. And it's going to take 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, 2 teaspoons of vanilla, and 1 teaspoon of nutmeg. But that is going to get mixed a little bit later. First, we're just going to take the eggs. I got to get some eggs, and I got to take and beat them up a little bit. And we're going to fold in the milk in that. But let me just get to that, and I'll be right back. Okay, so while the bread is toasting, I'm going to mix the eggs and the cinnamon, nutmeg, and vanilla. It all needs to be mixed together. So I'm going to pre-do that because you only have 10 minutes once the bread is soaking. So I'm going to pre-do this stuff, the eggs and that, and mix that while this is baked, crispy. Put these in here. 1. 9 eggs, because they're not too big, they're not the jumbo ones. So you can 8 or 9 eggs. You can always add more eggs, because it really doesn't change it that much. If you got an extra egg, you can use that. So let's see, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. I don't want to correct 6. 7, 8, and 9. Okay, I mix that up first, my eggs. Okay. 9 eggs, because they're not too big, they're not the jumbo ones. So you can 8 or 9 eggs. You can always add more eggs, because it really doesn't change it that much. If you got an extra egg, you can use that. So let's see, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. I don't want to correct 6. 7, 8, and 9. Okay, I mix that up first. And I have to put in 1 cup of sugar, because this is all your other ingredients. And my cinnamon, nutmeg, and my vanilla. Goes together, and then you mix this. Make sure your eggs are beaten well, and then just sort of mix this together. The spices tend to want to go around the side of the pot. Okay, let me just check that. Whew. tossing this. It's got to go back in. And the top, I moved the other one up to the top rack. So put this back in for a few seconds. And that top one will be going. I'm going to stir this up a bit more while I'm waiting. Hope you have all your Christmas shopping done there, sunshine. All right, get this up out of the way. Okay. All right, now I need 4 cups of breadcrumbs. Stick that over there. Try to keep Dawn's kitchen cleaned up a little bit. Okay. So, get our 4 cups out. Instead of dumping it in, you want to pick it up off of the tray so that you don't get all them little tiny crumbs that are really not, you want just the bread itself, not all the leftover crumbs that are laying around. And you want 4 good cups of bread. So push it down a little bit. Okay. Come in, down. Does Dominic to come in? Okay, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to put the breadcrumbs in the milk, and it has to soak for 10 minutes. But we're going to stir it up a little bit. So that it's, and I can see right now that I want to add a little bit more because I want, it really should be packed solid with the milk. That's why I always make just a tiny bit more than the 4 cups that it calls for. Just so you can do that if you want to. So, okay, it should all be soaking in the milk. Soaking down in the milk. And this will start to absorb also. Okay, almost ready to go. We just need another 3 minutes. And then we can mix those 2 ingredients together. And I'm going to make now, while I'm waiting for that, I'm going to mix up the pecan mix that we're going to use. So we're going to use 1 cup of pecans. And we're going to use a third of a cup, half a cup we'll start out with to mix that. We'll have a half a cup. Because this is just going to be put over the top. So you know it's the same idea as making a pie, a sprinkle for top of a pie or any of that kind of thing. Right, so you just got to mix it up so that there is a bit of brown sugar through it, and that is, so it was half a cup of sugar and a cup of pecans. Okay, now I've already pre-prepped the tinfoil or the tray to put it on, because we're going to put it in the oven, we put it on a tray together. So I pre-prepped that, but I do need to ham the 2 little containers that we're using. And as you know, Prez, I like my tin foil because I don't have to worry about cleaning it afterwards. And get it all cleaned up nice and quickly. Put that aside. And I'm using 2 for each one, just because it gives it a little sturdiness. And you don't want this too thick. So you want to keep it low when you're mixing it together. When you put it in there, you don't want too high. So don't use a loaf pan. You always want to use a little one. All right, I got that all crunched up and ready to go. And 1 minute left, and then we'll mix it. All you're doing with that while you're soaking that is just to get it soft and absorbing it. I like the canned milk that's in it, so that's why I use the canned milk. But it's just to make sure that it's all together mixed. So. Same as if you were making French toast. It's the same idea as French toast. Okay, and I'm gonna stir this up a little bit because it was sitting there for a few seconds. Get all those spices on the side. All right, so I'm going to take the spatula and scoop this out a little bit. And we're going to dump this in together. Get everything cleaned out at the bottom of the bowl. So that's all of our spices. Because it always tends to sit in the bottom. There's that. Take that out. Spoon. Leave that there for now. And now I'm just going to mix this together. So there's what you do. You just fold that in. That's what it looks like. And I'm going to pour it into my bowls that I'm using. Just tuck that over there. I'm going to pour some of this in. And pour some there. I might have enough for 3. Okay, I'm going to do a third one. Let's just get a little spray. Spray that. And turn on the third one. Right. Make sure that they're about the same. There, that one, and ready. That's done. Now we're going to put these in the oven, and we'll be back when they come out. And in the meantime, I'm going to, let's see if I can get all of these 3 on here. Yes, excellent. Fits perfect. Okay, I'm going to put this in the oven. Open here. I'm going to use the middle rack press. Put that in there. And, okay, we're going to check it in 30. And I have my pecan all ready to go when it comes out to sprinkle that on. I'll sprinkle that on a little bit later. I don't do it right away. I wanted to get a little bit of a crisp on it first. And then we'll go from there. Okay, so now I'm going to try doing the rum sauce. So what you need to do is turn it on medium-high. And you're going to put your butter in first. There's 2 tablespoons or 2 teaspoons of butter. 2 teaspoons of butter. And you melt that down a little bit. Teaspoons of butter. And that's melting. Once that gets melted for a minute, then you add your 2 cups of water. Because I'm making about 2 cups of rum sauce. Now you can use real rum if you want. No problem. Actually, some people really like it with real rum. But not everybody wants to take and drink alcohol, so that's why I use it with the artificial flavoring. And I'm just going to get this until this starts to kind of, it's going to be boiling, but not boiling like really hard. It's just a medium boil. I don't know, Press, if you make cream peas on toast, but it's the same idea as cream peas on toast. All right. And it's too bad you can't smell it, because even the artificial rum sauce, I can smell it here, and it's just in there over there. It's got to go just a little bit more with the boiling, once it gets a little hotter. Okay, now what's going to happen is I'm going to add first the brown sugar, and that is a cup, tight brown sugar. Mix that in there a little bit, get that melted down some. There we go. I'm going to put the rum sauce in. That's 2 teaspoons of rum sauce. And then it's the cornstarch. And as you know, if you've made any sauces, Press, cornstarch is just to thicken it. I'm not actually going to not put that in just quite yet. I want to see a little bit more of a boil here. I know for time-wise you're waiting for water to boil, but that's kind of what we have to do at this point. Just give it a boil. I was going to bring the dog over and give you guys a fashion show of what she looks like in all her new coats. You know, Pressy, you got my Galaxy coat. I got that one, and then I found this really beautiful blue one at Marshall's, and I said it was calling my name. Went down, and I thought, oh my gosh, it fits perfect. It'll fit perfect, Tiani. So I went and got it, and then I took a belt, and I took the beading off, and I put that on the background for it. I'll have to show you it later, anyway. I know you're going to like it. It looks really good. Give me a few more seconds for that to boil. If you guys are enjoying the holidays up there, getting out and doing some exercise. It's very much the same as gravy. You get gravy doing the same thing. You bring it up to a boil, and then once it starts to boil, you turn it down a little bit and you start to put your thickness in for your gravy to get it to the right density. Thickness. All right, now it's going. Okay, so now I'm going to add the cornstarch. Put that in. That there is 2 tablespoons. And you can hear that starting to boil well. I'm going to turn that down now to medium, low. And here you just got to keep going with it. Turn that down a little bit more, and you just got to keep stirring. Don't stop. Break that cornstarch up. Slide that over a little bit to cool it down a bit. The right thickness and everything, and it's ready to go. So I'll just shove that to the back. Okay, so now I'm going to take it out of the oven. It's had its time. Here. There you go. You can cut it now, but I would let it sit for about 10 minutes before I served it. And I cut it in slices and put a little bit of rum sauce over it. And so the rum sauce should be warm. And then from there, that's it. So Merry Christmas. I hope you enjoy your bread pudding when you make it. Loves.